Welcome to the Down South Hunting Podcast, presented to you by the Onyx Hunt app. And right now, today is Sunday. Today and tomorrow, you can save 30% at the Onyx Maps site on either the premium membership, the elite membership, or any of the Onyx gear for Black Friday and Cyber Week. So make sure you head over to there. The perfect timing is you get this now. It's a year membership, and there's a good chance they're going to be offering something like this next year. So year over year, you can keep getting those discounts. If you happen to miss out on this and you're listening to it later, just go ahead and get it anyway. You're saving, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks, something like that. It's definitely not worth sacrificing a full year of using the app to miss out on the discount. But if you can grab it, go ahead and do that now. Before I get into some more of like the intro stuff and some of the more business side of stuff, I just wanted to give thanks for a few minutes. We just got through Thanksgiving, and I just want to share a few things that I'm really thankful for. I've been so blessed with a wonderful wife and 4 amazing kids, and I'm so thankful for that and all my extended family. I've been able to spend a lot of time with them the last week, and it's just a huge blessing. And I'm also thankful for all the freedom that we have in this country and the wisdom that God gave our founding fathers in creating it, and also for all the military and the sacrifices that they've been making over the years to protect those freedoms. As far as the podcast goes, I'm really thankful for Adam and all the help that he does with this podcast, and I'm thankful for all you listeners. I just can't say enough. We've been getting more and more people that have been reaching out to us lately, and it's just awesome to hear from you that you're enjoying it and it's helping you. On a lighter note, I'm thankful that football season's over. Yesterday I went to the Florida game, Florida State, and we got hammered. And I'm thankful that I don't have any more Florida State football to watch this year. Hopefully next year is going to be a little bit better. And finally, most importantly, I'm thankful for Jesus Christ and the sacrifice that he made for us all. All right, now more into the business stuff. With this Black Friday stuff, if you head over to nomadaoutdoor.com, they got 40% off a lot of their gear. So it's a great idea to do that. And also Vortex has a lot of sales on a lot of their stuff going on. On my site, this was for Black Friday, so it's gone, but there's a good chance Cyber Monday is going to have something similar. You could get Vortex Diamondback binoculars for just 123 bucks, which is just an awesome deal. Those things have a lifetime warranty. Sorry, my voice is actually a little bit deeper than normal. I picked up a cold since we did this interview. So hopefully you don't like this new voice better because it ain't sticking around. Hunting gear deals, I've got a page up for the best Black Friday deals. So hopefully most of you have seen that already. If not, that's still live. And I'm also going to be doing a brand new page for Cyber Week. Well, that's going to have all of the best deals on hunting gear from across the web, so you can find it all in one place. You don't have to go to 50 different stores, or you can, but it's easier to use my links to get to them. And also, my Primalock bags, I've had several of you reach out to me and say you ordered those, and I really appreciate that. The launch is going well on those, but I need to keep that going. I need those reviews to be coming in, and I know some of you are already working on that, and I just really appreciate that. Another thing is... I'm sorry for those who got the first version of this. I actually recorded this all last night and got it published and posted it, and somehow I posted an hour and 15 minutes of complete silence. I have no idea how. I got back on the computer this morning to try to fix it, and basically all I had on my end was a bunch of blank space too. So this is round 2 of this. I'm sorry if you got the first version, but just delete it. And also, this audio is a little bit not quite up to our normal quality. There's a few background noises, and Kyle and I talk over each other a little bit more than I'd like. We're basically don't have the same chemistry Adam and I, since we don't do it all the time. But that's my fault, and I just with the holiday weekend I haven't been able to go through and edit everything out. So I hope you guys appreciate being able to get this a little bit earlier, and hopefully you can catch it on your travel home if you're out of town for the weekend, something like that. Today, Kyle and I talked to Jeff Lindsey, and Adam wasn't able to make it with the holidays, so Kyle stepped in and did a great job. We talked to Jeff Lindsey, and it was a really fun conversation, so I think you're really going to enjoy that. I think we should just go ahead and get into it now. All right, I'm really excited to have Jeff Lindsey on the line from the Lindsey Way. He's somebody that Adam and I had talked about interviewing basically from the beginning of the podcast, and we weren't really able to put it together just on tough to get in touch. And then, we just got caught up in other interviews. And I met Jeff at the QDMA convention this year and really knew we had to be able to put this together. And fortunately, we're right in the middle of hunting season here, and Jeff's able to make time for us. So I really appreciate it. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So basically, what the main thing I want to get into talking to is, you started out in Georgia, and you and your family moved up to Iowa, and I really want to get into kind of comparing the two. But before we do that, I don't know with TV how much you can talk about, but how's your season gone so far this year?
Oh man, it's going great. Yeah, I can talk about anything, man. It's
all right, good.
all transparent, but it's a good year. I've had one certain buck that I've been after in Iowa most of the year that has just been kicking my butt left and right, all up and down, kick butt street. So my tail's dragging a little bit dealing with that deer, but I went to Illinois, killed a couple deer there. So kind of over this one deer, and I'm ready for late season where I can just pull out a muzzleloader and just blast him at like 200 yards.
Yeah.
So that's the current state I'm in right now. But I'm actually in Georgia now. Most years we have Thanksgiving in Georgia. That's where most of my family is. So that's where we're going to be this week. I'll get to hunt some, maybe Friday and Saturday before I head back out, and may go to Iowa for a couple days before going to Kansas. Kansas rifle season opens next week, and that's something that I haven't really missed it in a few years. So it's kind of a tradition that bow hunt a couple days and bring in the rifle season. So that's kind of my plan for the next few days.
So, Jeff, you said your family's from Georgia. So is that where you grew up hunting?
Yeah, man. I grew up hunting in Georgia, middle Georgia, about an hour south of Atlanta. And it's where I cut my teeth. And I've always said, if you can kill a deer in the South, you can kill a deer anywhere in the world.
I'll agree with that.
So as a fellow Southerner, I can appreciate the fact that you guys are going around hunting with guns and stuff every once in a while too. I know it gets frustrating with the bow to be able to get out and get some of those deer. Is that when you're hunting in Georgia, are you guys typically hunting with your guns, or is that you stick with the bow on your property?
Man, typically I'm just hunting with whatever's in season. If they'd legalize bazookas, I'd have one of them out there tomorrow. But it's gun season in Georgia now. I'm going to gun hunt. I mean, you get 2 bucks in Georgia, so I like to get my first one or one with my bow. That hasn't happened. That didn't happen last year. I ended up shooting one with the muzzleloader, but I shot one early season with a bow and kind of scratched that itch. And the later it gets in Georgia, even though our farm is really low pressure, virtually no pressure, it does get tougher. Deer just get a little more spooked from the neighbors, yada, yada, yada. It's just part of the grind, I guess. But, yeah, we're not scared to pull out a gun, especially anytime past Thanksgiving.
So I'm curious how that works rut-wise. If you're leaving, do you feel like you're leaving Iowa like right around, I mean, I guess it might be starting to tail off, but when's the rut at in Georgia? Are you kind of missing some of both?
Yeah, I do. That's the thing. We got some really good deer on our Georgia farm. It's taken a while. We've built it up through protein feed, minerals, and food plots, grain over the years. But I spend 90% of my rut in Iowa, because my thought of that is no matter where I can hunt that year, if I got Iowa tag in my pocket, that's where I'm going to be. But I do miss a lot in Georgia. But now, most years I'm kind of tagged out in Iowa. I get the two bow tags being a landowner. So I still have one tag left, but I can use that bow tag all the way through January 10th, despite except for a couple of about I guess it's 15 days worth of gun season. So I can't use it then, but so I can still use it. So I'm not really, fretting not being there too bad right now, even though I would like to be, and my Spartan cameras tell me that the deer I'm hunting, Tricky Ricky's still moving in daylight. I'm over him, and I'm still getting a little bit of the tail end of the rut here because it doesn't go, the Iowa rut mirrors the Georgia rut. I mean, almost the peak breeding date within a couple of days. However, Iowa rushes into winter, rushes into the cold weather. Those deer have to quit thinking about does and start thinking about building up the body fat, getting ready for winter a lot quicker than the Georgia deer because of that climate, if that makes sense. So those deer in Georgia can kind of linger on a little longer.
All right, so I'm antsy to ask you a whole bunch of questions of comparing the two of those. But before we do that, I would like to get, how did you and your dad get into hunting, and how did you guys end up in Iowa?
Hunting, it's kind of, I was just born into it. My dad, just a redneck from Georgia, old fashioned, blood on the tailgate, going to deer camp, drug me to deer camp. They'd stay up all night playing cards, and we'd go hunting late in the morning. I'd sleep. He'd wake me up. I might see a deer, might shoot a deer. And we did the deer camp thing till I was about 12, 13. And about that point in my life, my dad, he'd been in business for himself a few years and was able to buy a small farm, 80-acre farm in Georgia, and kind of just grew that over time a little bit. And so that's kind of where we started. But grew up, squirrel hunting, dove hunting, whatever was in season, typically we were after it. And pretty much ever since I could walk, and if I wanted, he was dragging me out there, and that it's just became a lifestyle now.
So did you guys start taking out-of-state trips a lot after you got that 80 acres? Is that how you ended up in Iowa?
Yes, kind of, sort of. We started going to Canada. When I was 15, we started going to Canada. We'd go there for a week, sit on buckets in sub-zero temperature with a stick for a shooting stick, hunting. And looking back now, I would never probably take my kid with people I didn't know at 14, 15 years old, drop him off for a week and just, hey, good luck. Hope you don't freeze to death. And that's kind of what we were doing. But, I learned a lot, made me tough, and it was fun. We made a lot of memories. Learned we don't really like to hunt Canada a lot, but hope you don't have a lot of Canadian listeners. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's got one of those things where that's where we got started going out of state. And then I was like, man, I grew up, and still to this day, I got a stack of North American whitetail collection of those magazines that would probably rival anybody's in the world. But I would read all these things about, saddles and pinch points, inside corners, yada, yada, yada. But I never could apply them to the South. All that stuff was kind of made for the Midwest, up north, west, wherever you want to hunt, whatever you want to call it. But and then I said, man, I want to go to Illinois. Illinois was the big place to go. And they used to have a thing in Georgia called the Buckarama. And, a couple outfitters would come down there with these big bucks, and that was my thing. I wanted to go there. But the first place I ever ended up going, had a friend take me up to Iowa. And first morning, I drew a tag. I think at that point it took me like 2 years to draw a tag. First morning in a tree, I'm walking into the field, through this clover field. I see this giant buck. Giant, he was a 150s. He looked huge. He was white horn. Is all I ever dreamed about.
Sounds giant to me.
He was with a doe, ran in the woods. I hop up in the tree, climb up in this oak tree in this big ditch and hardwoods. It gets daylight. I look up, and I'm on, to this day, I'm 99% sure that was the same buck. Probably a 4-year-old deer, maybe a 3-year-old deer. Who knows? Like I say, I didn't know then, didn't really care. Biggest deer I'd ever seen. And he comes walking up to me 17 yards. I shoot him right through the gut, but he don't go but about 200 yards and ends up expiring. I'm sitting in the stand. 2 hours later, this like giant 170 comes shuffling, wind at his back, shuffling his feet through the hardwoods and at 20 yards. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is heaven. I have everything I've always dreamed about, everything I've always read about. Never had any experiences like this in 5 years in Canada. And then when 2 hours of Iowa, I've experienced the best morning of hunting ever. In the ditch that I was hunting in, they call it has a nickname called the best day of deer hunting. Guy had it named that, and it truly was, and probably still to this day, was my best day of deer hunting.
Man, I can definitely second that, having hunted Iowa one time in 2014, and I've got a good family friend who's got a farm up there in Davis County, and man, it's heaven for deer hunters. I mean, they have some huge deer walking around that place, and fingers crossed, I'm supposed to draw another Iowa tag next year, so we'll see. Hopefully, I'm headed back.
Yeah, it's a good state. The whole southern part of the state is good. It's just, if you can work around the EHD, that's just the biggest. And that farm I'm telling you about, what we call the best day of deer hunting, like a year or two later, EHD hit, and those great hunting days were over for a while. And that's just something you have to deal with up there, and we still deal with it. It's happened to us twice in 10 years. But now, knock on wood, it's it's getting back to kind of like it was. So next year or two could really be special if the the good Lord can just spare us of that awful disease again.
Right. So how long after that trip did you pick up and haul up north and move up there?
It was probably 3 or 4 years after that. Then we started at the time I think I was right before college or in college. And, I wasn't married then. And we just I'd kind of go with the wind and went up there, hung out a little bit. And said my dad ended up buying a farm. And then it ended up buying a part of it that had a house on it. And we said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. And we just kind of picked up the roots and transferred north, anti-snowbird, or the reverse snowbird. Most people go south in the winter. We go north in the winter.
It's definitely tempting, especially after you've hunted down there a few times.
It is, and we still have a lot of family in Georgia. I still got a bit. One of my businesses still in Georgia, so I get down there a lot, and we have a farm there that I say it's a working farm. We still do some farming on it, but it doesn't have cows or anything. But so we definitely got plenty of excuses to get there from time to time.
So as a Florida State fan, I'm a little bit nervous to ask this question because we're having a rough football season. But you mentioned you were in college. Then where'd you go to school? Being from Georgia.
First couple of years, I went to Georgia State. Then I graduated from a private school called LaGrange College, and at the time they didn't have a football team, but they do now. But no, I mean I enjoy SEC football. If I had to pick one team that was my allegiance, it would be Iowa. But I really do enjoy SEC football.
Are you? So you're just an SEC fan, or are you a Georgia fan?
No, I'm not a Georgia fan. I mean, I'll pull for Georgia. I mean, I got a lot of buddies who went to Georgia, but I got a lot of buddies who went to Auburn. A lot of buddies Alabama fan, So I'm just I just like the SEC. And to me, that's big boy football, and that's what I enjoy.
All right, well,
go Tigers.
I don't have a whole lot to say about that this year. So.
Well, yeah, you guys had a good run, and and when I was young, in my the 90s, nobody was better than FSU, the Criminals.
Yeah, Florida State and Miami we had a good run. So. We'll put it back together, but
oh yeah, you will.
So how did that conversation go? How did your dad end up moving up to Iowa as well? I'm assuming he's living there as well, right?
Yes. And I kind of did it first. I just said, you know what? He had some things to work out. He was in the middle of his career, making his living. I didn't have near as much. I was just kind of starting to get out of college, and I said, you know what, that's where I'm going to plant my roots. I kind of got up there and started dabbling in some real estate and stuff like that, and one thing led to another, and I was there a year or two before he came up, if I remember correctly, but it was definitely life changing for both of us.
Were you selling land or houses?
No, I was just kind of buying and selling farms, and that was my plan. I never really had my real estate license. I was just, kind of find me a farm somehow and fix it up and then hire me a real estate guy to sell it,
Man,
I was kind of the flipper guy.
Yeah.
But that was when, farms were $700 an acre. I couldn't afford anything at Georgia at the time. I go up there, and first farm I ever looked at was $30 acres and $725 an acre, and I was like, hey, I can get a loan for that. So things kind of, had I went up there, had I been born 20 years later, I may have had a lot tougher start, I should say.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream to get started that way.
Now.
Yeah, it is. It's not like that now, but you can look back 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago and say that about anywhere, but I mean, by the time I got to Iowa, I was not far removed from when you bought some land from the state. If you bought 1 acre of open ground, they would give you 1 acre of timber ground. That was the incentive to buy their land. So it's a lot has changed. Now recreational ground in southern Iowa is appreciating and in demand as much as, anywhere in the country, especially, just for recreation.
All right, so I know this is a few years back, but can you give us like one tip if we're looking to buy like a small piece of ground, as far as like how to find a good deal on it?
Well, it's getting tougher by the year on that because there's so many more people looking and so many other real estate companies out there now. But what I tell people is to start small, and you want to find a farm. There's two types of farms when you're looking to buy recreational farms. The ones that are diamonds in the rough that are either a good deal or a fair price, or the ones that are proven, have deer history, and already have been all the work done to them and they're turnkey ready to go. And then you're going to pay a lot more for them. So my advice to get started, just buy what you can afford. Don't max yourself out, but buy something in a good area that's got a good track record. Do your due diligence, do your homework. And if you're buying it for yourself to keep, my theory is, the best 40 is 10 times better than the worst 400 any day of the week. It's all about your neighbors and location and the topo on the certain farm you're looking for. But if you're looking in to get to it from an investment standpoint, just buy that diamond in the rough. But it will take you some time to find it. It's not going to be the first farm you look at, but with patience and, with a little help from the right real estate agent or real estate company, you'll find one.
Man, that's good stuff.
Jeff, do y'all have one main farm in Iowa, or do y'all have multiple farms that y'all hunt on?
We got the main farm, the family farm is my dad's farm. It's what he bought, 12 years ago when he started selling some other farms he had around and ended up 1031 in the money into that. I guess about, I don't know how long ago it was. My first farm I ever bought was actually in Illinois. But my first Iowa farm I bought with two other guys down the road from our farm. Still got that to this day. I own it with two other guys. We call that one Three Nuts. And got a lot of walnut trees on it. And there's three guys that own it. But and we also got, me and my dad, seems like we always got a couple of farms that we own that are not really kind of long-term farms. We buy those ones, maybe get a little better deal on them, diamonds in the rough, and fix them up, try to get some deer history on them. And we got one of those we sold last year. We got another one now we're working on. But we also got one that we bought that, is a diamond in the rough, but it's also got some pretty big deer on it. And I don't know that we'll ever be able to ever want to sell it. But yeah, we got 3 or 4 farms around that, I own 2 or 3 myself. I own 2 or 3 with my dad. But the main farm where we do 90% of our hunting is right there at our house, and that's where we go. That's where we spend most of our time.
So how much on these farms is commercial ag? Like, are you able to make money on these farms with the commercial side of things, or is it they primarily deer hunting? Yeah,
no, they're our main farm is a lot of timber, but it has a lot of CRP, and so that's kind of my dad's retirement if he ever does retire, but it has the CRP income, and we do a lot of farming ourselves. Most of that, however, just gets left for the deer. But a couple of years ago, my dad's got all the equipment. He is a farmer, but he just said, you know what, I'm going back to leasing all my ground out. I'm not messing with it. So he leases most of his ground out for farming to 2 or 3 different farmers around the area. Now, me personally, I do mostly hay stuff. That's just kind of what works for me. So I like alfalfa on my farms, and it doesn't make quite as much as the corn or soybean in our particular part of the country, but it's what I just kind of my niche per se.
It sounds like a safer bet to me.
Yeah, I can sell it. It grows, and I don't have to get crop insurance and just fertilize it and go from there.
So let's get into how you guys got into filming. I know you guys got tied up with the Drurys early on, and maybe just kind of give us a story on that if you can give us a summary.
Yeah, I had a buddy that worked for Realtree, and I guess it was, here I'm testing my memory. I don't remember, high school, college, sometime in there. I ended up meeting on one of our trips coming back from Canada, and he was filming a little bit for them. He'd been filming up there, and so I said, hey man, you let me know. I'll come film you. And we started off filming turkeys. He had a camera, then I bought a camera, a lot cheaper camera. And I'd go with him. He'd film me shoot a turkey. I'd film him shoot a turkey. And that was back in Georgia in the heyday when we had a lot of turkeys. It's not near like that now. And so we started doing that. And then part of our main farm that my dad bought from Art Drury back in the day, we didn't have any intention of really getting with Drury Outdoors, getting in the outdoor industry, nothing like that. We're filming our hunts. It's what I'd been doing for a while. So we get up there, and Mark's over at the house one night, and it's like, oh man, let's show you these deer we killed on film. He's like, showed them to him. He's like, dang guys, that's awesome. And it was just a point blank question. I want to send you guys bows and get you on our team. At the time, I was doing the Hoyt bows. I want to send you guys bows and get you on our team. And it's like, okay, it wasn't really like hey, we'll think about a discussion like this. Just say, hey, this is let's do this. Okay. And everybody agreed to it. And
free bows. Okay.
Yeah. One thing led to another, when you're young, yeah, we're pro all about that pro staff, man. Hook us up.
Yeah. So, and I know you guys started doing the dream season then, right?
Yeah, the dream season we did mainly just film for their videos for a few years, and they had the dream season. It kind of at that point was just names of some of their videos, and then they started the TV show Dream Season. Did it for I don't know how many years, and they said, "Hey, you guys want to do it for Dream Season Celebrity?" They paired everybody with celebrity. We did it then, and then every year we were just a reappearance on there. So we didn't really do the videos at that point. We were just doing the TV.
Okay, so you weren't like in the competition. You were actually the celebrity at that point, huh?
No, we were not celebrity. That was Tim Sylvia.
Yeah.
No, we were just, but we were doing the competition. That's what we always did. And I love Dream Season. I met lifelong friends on there, but everybody that was on there was super competitive, and it was kind of a relief when it was finally over, or we were kind of off of it, just because sometimes it would kind of pit us against each other. But that's what was good for TV, and we kind of enjoyed that aspect of it, but also, hated it, if that makes sense. It was a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So that was like the question on the tip of my tongue when you started mentioning that. Like, yeah, how does that work out, like competition wise? Like, I mean, I guess a lot of it is like filming and that kind of stuff. So it's not you're only competing about the deer. So I guess I can see, and I know Campbell Cameras had theirs for a while that was similar to. Yeah, but how does that work? Like turning deer hunting into a competition?
Yeah, it was weird, and a lot of that's kind of, for lack of a better term, made for TV. You building up the storylines, you building up the drama. That's kind of what you want. And that's what makes it fun. But over here, my buddy Doug, he shot a buck, and I'm like, well, dadgum, man, we're not going to win this leg now. So you never want to be like that. So it kind of probably made you a little more jealous or a little more competitive of certain things, because you'd have to know my dad. I'm a lot more competitive than he is, but he is super competitive, especially on that show. So it kind of took us to a different level, and sometimes if we didn't guard ourselves, would get us to a place in hunting where it wouldn't be as fun, and it would be more like a competition. So you just gotta there's a lot of checks and balances, especially you have to set for yourself personally to make sure you don't get out of hand there.
Yeah.
While we're talking about y'all, the juries, I think the first time I remember seeing y'all do anything, it was your dad and the Goliath buck.
Oh yeah.
Was a huge deer.
That was a giant deer. He gets talked about that all the time. He's over it, he'll talk about it. But it was one of those things where, had he killed that deer, it was a great deer. But had he killed it, it would just have been another one of these 200s that get killed on TV, and big deal, move on. But the fact that he missed it, it was the true one that got away. Everybody kind of got behind him, pulled for him, and that will always stick with him, whether it's good or whether it's bad. That's just the big one got away.
Did anyone ever end up killing that?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was what was so
That's what I
shady
thought,
about the
yeah.
story is this deer was 9.5, and he didn't live on us all the time. He was kind of on the edge of our property, but I had 3 pictures of him when we took over that farm. It was when he was 6.5, and we found his sheds. The next year, 7.5 is when he was the biggest he was. We found one of his sheds then. Our neighbor found the other, and I had one picture of him. No, I didn't have a picture of him that year. The next year, I had one picture of him. When he was 8.5, he went down, and then 9.5 had pictures of him in timber on a scrape. He come in, looked at the scrape, and it was the Reconyx pictures at the time. It took 3 pictures. I had one picture of him head on. The next 2 pictures was his butt. So I mean, he was just this mega elusive deer. He didn't, in the summertime we put out the minerals, corn. He didn't come to that. He was just a beans type deer. That's all he wanted to eat. But we didn't really. It was just a kind of a ghost. But he was so elusive, but then my dad shoots him, and he hits him high. It was kind of a spine, right above the spine shot. We've looked at it a million times. We found a lot of hair, found a little blood. And then the next day, a guy that didn't have permission to be on the farm, but another farmer had given him permission to be on the farm, one of our neighbors' farm, ends up shooting this deer about 100 yards off our line. Whether or not the deer was, I don't think he was dead. I don't think my dad's shot was a lethal shot, but whether or not he was kind of in a stupor or sitting there licking his wound, and he was sitting licking his wounds, and we had close to 2 foot of snow at that point. So, and to get where that deer was, you had to walk like a mile to get back in there. So it was a very strange story how all that happened.
Yeah,
and it was very shady. And maybe the guy did it right. But it was just the way it all worked out. It didn't add up to us. And, but hey, that's life.
Watching that buck walk up that hill out of the timber, like in the snow, is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I mean, what did that deer end up scoring?
He was like
239,
240, 241 or something. And the sheds from 2 years were actually bigger. They were like, we got them still to this day, but they were, like 250s. And so he was even bigger the 2 years prior. But yeah, and my dad filming, and he did a great job with that because my dad's not a cameraman, but he had the camera, he had it set on audio. The deer comes out, lets the window down, and when he happened to squeeze the trigger, the deer just so happened to be digging in the beans. There was no beans left in that field. That was what's just so bizarre. The deer were killing it that year, and they were just digging in the snow. It's just a weird year for those deer to be in that field, but they were, and he was digging down, and his shoulder was down about 6 inches, and he didn't have a cameraman. And of course, if he had a cameraman, probably would have killed him. But who knows? Had he killed him, it was one of those things that we probably wouldn't even be talking about it today. I really feel that way because he's killed 2 or 3 other deer that was real close in size to that. But Goliath had this huge frame, the drop tines, and just not really replicated. It's and the fact that it got away, it makes the stories that much more intriguing, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy how those big deer, they all seem to have shady stuff around them.
They do. Big deer make people do crazy things, man. They always have, and they always will.
I guess that's part of what makes it so cool.
It is.
So, you finish up with the juries, and you and your dad embark on this new journey with the Lindsey Way. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was one of those things that, the Drurys are great friends, Mark and Terry, and, Matt and Taylor, and we've known them for a long time, and just said, hey, guys, we just kind of want to do our own thing. And so we felt like we did it the right way. We said, hey, this is what we want to do. We told them our plan. We tried to give them notice, how we could work out the following year of dream season. But we just wanted to kind of, do our own thing and not really from a business standpoint, because, I got my way. I make my living. My dad's got his ways, makes a living. We didn't get into this business to feed our families per se. We just we like hunting with our families, hunting with our friends, and we want to kind of show and portray well, we want to, and we did, I think, 8 years with Drury, so we just felt like, that's the way life goes. Things run its course, and it was time, and so it was one of those things. We did it, and to be honest, it feels like yesterday, and now we're filming season 4, so time flies.
Yeah, man, I really love the show. I've been watching since it first came out. I really like how y'all show kind of the whole season approach, and everybody who's ever heard me talk on here knows that I'm the land management nut. So it's really cool to see how y'all kind of show that side of it too, not just the hunting, how y'all are taking care of the properties and what y'all are doing for the deer and all that. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's a big deal to us, man. It's kind of leave it in better shape than when we got it.
So what was when you guys started the show, what was your, like, everybody's got things they've seen outdoor TV, and I do it this way. And what were some of your goals when you started the show as far as what you guys wanted to focus on, maybe be a little different?
Well, when I started, I was sitting in a class one day, and they were showing us these little graphs and charts. I was having to do some continuing education. Forget what even the class was about. But they showed this little chart and how it had an overlaying the 3 little things. So I sat out and I started doodling. I said, well, this is what I want our show to have. I wanted to have cinematography. I wanted to have entertainment, and I wanted to have big bucks, and I wanted to be the best at all 3 of those, because I felt like there wasn't any show on television that nailed all those. There was some entertaining, there was some funny shows that killed some deer. There were some great shows that had cinematography, and that they killed deer, but none of them that really combined all 3 of them. And I wanted to be the best of that. And still to this day in season 4, I don't think we've nailed that. I mean, but that's kind of my goal. I want it to be entertaining, and entertainment kind of comes over time in a lot of different forms and fashions, but, and then big deer, that's kind of the hardest part because you can't control it. But, and then just the fact of, having not the best cameras out there, but doing as good a job filming and telling the story, and with the best equipment that you can afford, so kind of the best of all 3 of those worlds. I wanted that to be the Lindsey way, and we've done that, but we still haven't hit it and reached our full potential, in my opinion. But hey, I'm always kind of a little hard on ourselves anyhow.
Man, I got to tell you, man. So I don't watch a lot of outdoor TV. I don't have cable, but I'm at my in-laws today, and I was actually watching one of your shows. And I got to say, I think you guys are doing a really good job at that. I mean, you guys killed big bucks in the show. The end had like a bunch of outtakes and bloopers, which I thought were really funny and personable and entertaining. And then I saw you guys have Heartland Bowhunter doing all of your, your production stuff. I mean, I think that, like, those 3 things are exactly like 3 things that stood out to me. So I got to say, I think you're doing a real good job on those goals.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and we're on the Sportsman's Channel, and that was kind of our plan starting out. Be the kind of start off small. We knew the Outdoor Channel was a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger stage for us, and we weren't quite ready for that. So, and I don't really know what our future plans are on that, but right now we're with the Sportsman's Channel. We're happy, and we got a prime airing, probably the best time slot that I could want. So we're blessed to have that. So we're just going to keep on keeping on and keep working towards our goal,
And speaking of entertainment too, we'll get to this later, but you guys do a great job on social media too. You
appreciate that. Yeah,
the content and the interaction, that kind of stuff. You guys do a real good job.
Yeah, and I feel like we do, and I feel like we're entertaining on social media. But that is the biggest challenge from a editing standpoint, is to hand our producers, our camera, like my camera guy takes our 5 to 10 hours worth of footage per show and takes it down to a couple hours, and then Heartland Bowhunter takes it down from 2 hours, to 26 minutes. So how much of that entertainment gets lost in there? So it's kind of it is truly a balancing act, trying to keep a little bit of all that like we experienced. But that is the great thing about social media, is kind of unfiltered. You can throw it all out there. If you want to fill somebody's timelines up with freaking Little Debbie's, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
That's what you do. And sometimes that may not be a good thing, but you just kind of live through it in the moment.
Well, you've started like this revolution this year. Like it's always been this underlying joke that, Jeff Lindsey loves his tree stand snacks. And hey, I'm with you, brother. Like I love my tree stand snacks too. But this season, I don't know what it is. You've got like a following behind you. Like I don't even know what this is. It's hilarious to watch though. Everyone is eating stuff in the tree, and everyone is trying to outdo each other. That's probably the best part.
No, it is.
I mean, I've seen people. We're way above Little Debbie's, oatmeal pies, honey buns. I mean, I saw somebody eating hot Totino's pizza rolls out of their Yeti. I saw somebody pouring hot gravy from their Yeti onto biscuits. I mean,
it's getting out of hand.
I definitely brought several slices of Casey's breakfast pizza into the tree this year when I was in Missouri, for sure. I mean, this is insane.
It is. Everybody's always taking tree stand snacks. You always throw a little Debbie pie in your coat or something like that. Everybody's always done it. But now the fact that social media just gets it where you can share it all. And I think everybody kind of like most people that really enjoy it, they message us like, hey, man, I appreciate you guys. We don't feel like we got to, go out and pound supplements and work out to go deer hunting. I'm like, well, that's not what we really intended to because, I work out. I mean, not a lot, but I do enough to stay healthy. And I don't eat a ton. I mean, I get portrayed even in our show. Every show I'm eating something. And I eat my snacks, but I'm not like some, borderline diabetes guy. But, hey, it's taken off, and we run with it. And it got – I don't know, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, people just started tagging us in all this stuff. And I said, you know what, let's call it Snacks for Racks. And when they started tagging us, I was like, man, I finally just embraced it and went with it. And then I just started reposting all this stuff. And now it feels like I get tagged 100 times a day in all these snack memes or repost on the Snacks for Racks. So we're just embracing it now and enjoying it. And it's kind of funny, really. So we just,
what's going to happen?
We just roll with it.
You're going to gain like 10 pounds because you feel like you're going to have to that's like a business now, a business decision. You got you're going to tell your wife like, hey, listen, this is paying the bills. I gotta keep this going.
Right. Yeah. No, this is part of it.
And keep the fans happy.
Yeah. Little Debbie is what was going to be our title sponsor next year. I mean, we sold them so many. That's all we can do.
Man, Adam and I have been trying. We've been talking to Kyle about it too. We really want to get them to sponsor our podcast too. So we need to start making a push to get them like as a hunting brand name.
Yeah. No, we have had a couple of. What's that?
I was going to say early on in Down South Hunting podcast, they used to ask every single guest, what is your favorite tree stand snack?
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
Single time.
Yeah,
that was years ago.
Everybody takes one, man. Yeah, and we've actually had some different type of snack companies or whatever start messaging us, and so who knows where all this is going to go? But it's pretty fun right now. But
okay,
hey, don't settle. Don't settle.
Don't settle.
For the good one.
Keep the bar. I know, man, because there are good snacks and there are bad snacks. I know we joke a lot about that, but you got to stay high class on that stuff.
So we kind of hit a natural transition here a little bit. We're going to talk about North and South. So give me some. I know you're big on Casey's up north. Give me some like northern type snacks and some southern type snacks to start out with.
Well, Casey's is a Midwest thing. So the people in the South will never know what it's like to go in and get a breakfast pizza. I mean, there's people in the Midwest. I mean, they live off Casey's. I mean, that is their grocery store. That is their restaurant. That's all they got in their town. So that's what they have to do. But, Casey's donuts they make them there. They're fresh every day. They're hard to beat. And obviously the Casey's pizzas are, they're very filling, so I don't eat them a lot. And every now and then I will if it's today I got to do some heavy work or something like that. But so you can't really get past that. But in the South, there's a lot of, a different type of restaurants, and But heck, I've seen people eat Chick-fil-A biscuits and stuff on some of the stuff they've been tagging us in lately, and that's not a thing that you can really do in the Midwest. I mean, Chick-fil-A's are very few and far between. But, down south, you got the quick trips and the Waffle House. The Waffle House has been a running joke for after you shoot a turkey in the morning for I don't know how many years. But so I don't know that I really have a different one, in the South. Anytime you can get your hands on some Krispy Kreme or something like that, that's definitely the cat's meow. It really gets no better than that if you can get some fresh ones. But, Little Debbie's nationwide, so, I mean,
Yeah.
there's always probably an oatmeal cream pie in my pack. It doesn't matter if it's my pack I'm taking out of my truck in Georgia or Iowa, Kansas, Mississippi, wherever. There's going to be a Little Debbie in there.
That's what I'm talking about. Kyle swears I can't be a true Southerner because I prefer the Little Debbie, the oatmeal cream pie to the honey bun. But
no, I think you've
honey,
told me that.
I
thought Kyle has said that.
Yeah.
I'm with you, dude. I'm a OCP.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be a Southern thing, though. I mean, yeah, everybody likes honey buns, but the oatmeal cream pie is a Southern thing, in my observation.
On social media, Little Debbie actually responded to us and said the honey bun is their number one seller, which was surprising to me. But I guess they're easy to grab in the gas station.
Yeah, that's kind of. It's funny how people's like, oh no, I won't eat a Snickers bar for breakfast, but oh yeah, I'll grab a honey bun. Same calories, same amount of fat. But oh yeah, an iced honey bun is socially acceptable for a nutritional breakfast. So that's probably why.
All right.
Go ahead. If I do not have my honey bun and black coffee on the way to wherever I'm going to turkey hunt, I'm not going.
You just ain't doing it.
I gotta have it to have a successful turkey hunt. It's one of those turkey hunter superstition deals.
Really?
All right. This is my last Little Debbie comment. The other day, I picked up a chocolate chip cream pie. Bad decision. That doesn't come close.
Yeah, your palate's already set, man. You can't go screwing with it.
Good. I think
which they are changing it up. Those guys, Little Debbie does not settle. They do not say, hey, man, we got these Christmas trees that are good in the winter. We got OCPs, fudge bars, whatever. They keep changing it up. They keep making it interesting. I mean, their marketing department and their research team on these new snacks is next level.
They really need to be sponsoring both of us.
They do. We need to make that happen.
We could literally talk about tree stand snacks and Little Debbie cakes like for the next 2 hours, but we need to talk about deer hunting because I have questions that I want Jeff to answer. So, being a Southerner myself, and I've hunted a few times in the Midwest, like, of course, the Midwest is like heaven for whitetail hunters, but I want to know the main difference in tactics that you take between, like, hunting your Georgia farm and then hunting your Iowa farm. Like, what are the main differences you see between the two areas?
Well, the easiest thing is kind of, a bird's eye view. I can pull out a hunt terrain map of my Georgia farm, same with my Iowa farm, and you can look at the Georgia farm. The topo lines are pretty flat. You look at the Iowa, you can see these ridge tops. You can see the saddles. You can see all these places like, okay, that makes sense. Let's hunt there. And then when you're looking at the Georgia farm, the only real fields that aren't pine trees or hardwoods are ones that we've cleared. Iowa has a lot of natural ones. So, I can sit down and I could look at, a 500-acre plot or a 500-acre map of an Iowa farm, and I could pick out 10 stands, and I could have them highlighted at the snap of a finger. Half of them probably going to be good, half of them maybe not. But I can sit there and look at a 500-acre Georgia map, and I can guess what's going to be good. But the topo and the field edges, it's all timber, so it's kind of more just a guess until you can really put boots on the ground. So that's the biggest difference.
Do you find yourself hunting mobile a lot more in Georgia, where like maybe the same stands aren't as hot year to year just because of different food sources and stuff, or are you able to keep that consistent just because you guys are feeding supplementing and you got food plots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this year is the first year you could really bait in Georgia, and I actually haven't even really hunted over bait yet because I haven't hunted a lot. Of tagged my first buck on opening day, but really hunt a lot of food plots in Georgia. We plant a lot of the biologic, and the older I get, I don't know if I'm getting be a better deer hunter or a worse deer hunter, but I find myself even in morning times hunting field edges and openings more. It's a lot easier to see the deer. I can call out them if it's a rut, and it's a lot easier to get them on film. Because even though I love hunting the woods, if we go in and we see a deer for 5 seconds and then I shoot him because we didn't have much pre-roll of him, it was thick, or we didn't see him coming, I kind of feel like I failed a little bit on telling that whole story and giving the audience a little more view of the deer that we're hunting. So I just find myself hunting fields a lot more, especially in Georgia. But that being said, people in the South, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you grew up in a climber. That was your stand. You didn't have stands hung and stuff like that. You may have had Grandpa's box stand he built up in the corner of the pine tree on the edge of the field, but that's what you had. You went in, you found a spot, and you climbed up in it where the acorns were falling. Well, then maybe tomorrow you climbed up 50 yards down the trail because that's where you seen them. And in Iowa, it's not like that. It's kind of because the topo forces them, or the Midwest, they're kind of going to be in the same spots year after year.
So with you filming, here's one of the main things I want to ask you, and I didn't prep you for this, so I'm hoping you can kind of cover this off the top of your head, which after listening to you at QDMA, I think you're pretty good at explaining this stuff. With you guys doing TV, let's take the average guy in the South. I think a lot of times we might watch a show that's in like Iowa or Missouri or Kansas like you guys are, and somebody new to hunting might try to take those same tactics on him, field edges and that kind of stuff, and have a hard time. But at the same time, it's still hunting. It's still whitetail. So what are like a couple things that like a Southerner should understand, like the differing habitats where maybe it wouldn't be quite the same? And then what are like a couple things that are going to be the same either way? Because we're still talking whitetail deer.
Yeah, you're still talking whitetail deer. They still got food sources. You still got fields that are going to kind of be staging areas. You're going to still have the areas where they're spending 90% of their time feeding in the majority of the night, especially a little more in the South where they're more nocturnal. But you're going to have bedding areas. You're still in the rut. You're going to have bucks that are going to go downwind of bedding areas, checking for hot does, getting the most bang for their buck from bedding area to bedding area. And that's going to happen in Iowa. That's going to happen in Texas. That's going to happen anywhere. That's what deer are going to do. It's just a little harder pinpointing those bedding areas in the South because you can have a 200-acre farm that they clear cut 2 years ago. They clear cut 100 acres of it. So, I mean, my stars, you got a 100-acre bedding area now, when in Iowa, you got these little smaller pockets, so it's going to be a little different, but you can always kind of, if you can walk a farm, as soon as season's over, January, February, March, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can see the trails, you can see the rubs. Usually those rubs will tell you, how they're getting from the bed to the food sources in September and October. And then you start kind of where you find the sheds or where you find some beds, you can find those, you can locate those bedding areas. Then you start putting the pieces together. It just takes a little longer, in my opinion, to put those pieces together in the South than it would somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, how about a couple of specific things? How about calling? So when you're in Iowa versus Georgia, what are the differences in your tactics for calling and rattling and that kind of stuff?
Well, like I said earlier, I don't really hunt the rut a ton in Georgia per se, but I mean, I don't even really carry my rattling horns in Georgia. I rattled a lot as a kid to no avail because I'd read all these articles. But, you could see some deer, grunt, change them, move them around, stuff like that. But I mean, I can honestly say I've rattled in more deer on one rattling sequence in Iowa than I've probably rattled in all my years in Georgia. And that's just, there's a variety of reasons for that. But if I hunt this weekend, I won't carry rattling horns in Georgia. I will have a grunt call. If I see one out there 300 or 400 yards cruising across the field, I'll try to get his attention, get him turned around, something like that. But just kind of a little different, and that was one of the big things I noticed when I started going to the Midwest. I had all these calls in my pack that I've never had. I always had and always used, and never really mattered in the South. Then when I get to the Midwest, I mean, it's like calling turkeys all over. So a little different there for sure.
Is there some stuff that maybe you hadn't done when you hunted in Georgia? You started hunting the Midwest and brought some of those tactics back where like maybe you wouldn't have thought to do it before you tried the different habitat, but maybe open your mind up a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I probably don't have anyone in particular, but a lot of times Iowa made me a better hunter on certain things, but definitely probably backing up off the, growing up, it's just easy to sit on the edge of the fields, wait on the deer to come to you. But you finally just realize in Georgia, that's not going to happen all the time. So you kind of dig a little deeper in there, and, scouting in the Midwest is easier. But also when you're scouting in the Midwest in February and March, like we do, we're really shed hunting, and then we're calling that scouting. So we never shed hunted in the South. But now, if I'm in the South and before the leaves come on, or even turkey hunting, that's what we're doing. We're looking for sheds.
Yeah, it's something we haven't necessarily picked up on so much, but I'm sure, especially with you having your farm, you get to know different bedding areas and that kind of stuff where, if you have the history and the time to put into it, I'm sure you can, track down some of those sheds.
Yeah, you can in the South. It's a lot more spread out. Those sheds can be anywhere, but if you put the time in, you can find them. We just, we have a big get together. Everybody has a big weekend or two that we'll shed hunt in Iowa, and we're always shed hunting, but we, get a lot of people together, and we don't really do that in the South. And we probably should. We should put some more emphasis on it, because it would let us know a little better of our inventory, what deer made it through, what deer we have, what new bucks may have showed up. So we're definitely guilty of not putting our best foot forward in the South, even though we do have some great deer. But that's just kind of human nature. You can't do it all,
Yeah. So one thing I heard you talk about at DeerCon was comparing using ground blinds in the Midwest versus in the South. And can you tell us your thoughts on that and the strategies for using them, if you're going to use one here or you're going to use one up north?
Yes. A lot of times when we do ground blinds up north, we'll put them in the edge of some cedars or in the edge of corn. But you get a fresh cut cornfield, you can go over to the standing corn, brush it in, and I mean, they're cool with it that night. Now you can put it in the edge of some cedars, brush it in a little bit, spend a few minutes brushing it in. They can come out the same night. They may be a little leery, but by day 2 or 3, they're like totally cool with it. In Georgia, I mean, I've never probably really hunted one as much as I do in Iowa, but I mean, you're talking 2 or 3 weeks probably before they'll even, I'm not talking about getting used to it, before they'll even come in the same field with it. I mean, it's like you might as well park a rocket ship in there. It freaks them out.
Well, I know one thing about the South too, though, is that, versus the Midwest, there's not a whole lot of areas in the South where you're not going to find a good pine tree. I know Adam, co-host, is not here tonight, but, he's got a lot of the, different style oaks and that kind of stuff where it might be more of an issue. But I know, in Georgia and Florida here, and probably a lot of your areas too, Kyle, there's not a whole lot of areas you can't find a straight pine tree in anyway.
Oh,
we
you can always
have
climb
anything
one.
but pine trees in Louisiana.
So you guys probably hunt out of climbers a lot then.
Yeah, we've been getting into
Yeah.
saddles
Yeah.
a little bit too, which is pretty interesting. But I'm not ready to give up my climber yet. That's been kind of an ongoing debate between Adam and I. He's ready to hang his climber up, but I'm not ready to let mine go yet.
Well, my buddy bought me a tree walker. I guess it's a Mississippi climbing stand, but I'm going to hunt the Delta a lot this year. I'm in a club out there, so I haven't stressed out about getting there to hang stands, whatever. I'm going to get there. I'm going to see where the food source is, see where the deer are moving. And me and my cameraman, we're not going to hunt out of the same climber and probably not in the same tree. I wouldn't recommend that, but we're going to find 2 straight trees close together, and we're going to get mobile on them.
Yeah,
That's
well, that sounds
awesome. Yeah, I carry the climber in pretty much all my hunts in Mississippi. In fact, I really had never even used lock-ons very much except for permanent type sets, and until the past couple of years I started hunting the Midwest, where you can't really use a climber. And so I've kind of gotten into the hanging hunt kind of deal, but climber is like my bread and butter.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a climber. I can honestly say, though, my cameraman's from Nebraska, and I don't know if he's ever hunted out of a climber. So I think I need to ship him one where he can practice with it. I don't want to go down there in Mississippi the first morning. He's making a ton of noise, or next thing I know, he's hanging by his feet 20 foot high. So I'm a little nervous on that.
Do they have trees in Nebraska?
Not many. Not many.
Probably all cottonwoods or whatever.
Yeah. They just go and they just walk around. Or actually, the Nebraska hunters just get in trucks. According to our two camera guys, both of them from Nebraska, they just everybody, all their neighbors, just get in trucks and
get in the truck and get your rifle and shoot them at 200 yards.
Yeah, just have at it, man. Running deer, wounded deer, just let it fly.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Y'all are going to be in the Delta of Mississippi. That's a new area for you, right? Have you hunted there before?
Yeah, I have. I've hunted terror wildlife. I kind of fell in love down there. We hunted there a lot with Drury. We'd win hunts there through kind of the point system or whatever they had set up. But I got in a place down there, one of those, shared memberships, whatever you want to call it. And I got in one last year about December and kind of just fell in love with it. You can duck hunt in the morning and deer hunt in the afternoon. And it's just, that's certain parts of the Delta is just, buck factories, deer factories. I mean, there's so many deer on them. And it seems like you can't shoot enough bucks according to the biologist per some of these certain plantations or ranches, whatever you want to call them. So it's just, it is fun. It's a lot of fun. It's different, definitely different hunting, but by the rut being about a month and a half later, it can extend your season out.
Yeah, that's my neck of the woods. My place where I grew up hunting is just a little south of Terra. We've got our rut peaks around New Year's, so it's pretty great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of time there in December and January this year, Lord willing.
So how's your show break down normally? I know, for TV, you got to have bucks to kill and that kind of stuff, but between splitting the locations and that stuff, how does your show normally break down for a season?
Typically, I love the elk hunt. I know Kyle loves the turkey hunt. We have had one turkey hunt on there, but we film all of our turkey hunts. We've just never made turkey episodes. But what I was saying about that, I love elk hunting. I mean, I'm going to elk hunt to the day I die. I just accept timber in the mountains. There's nothing like it. So we go on one or two elk hunts every year. But we're whitetail guys. That's why people watch our show. So we try to be predominantly whitetail and maybe mix in an elk hunt or two. But this year, season 4, because of the first hunt we went on was a Georgia hunt and a sharp my buck opening day, we decided to make our season 4 the entire thing chronological. So before it was kind of because the elk hunts were first, they may have been episode 2 or 3, but now this year they may not be to episode 3 or 4, based on how they fall into what we laid down on the calendar. So that's is that what you were kind of asking?
Yeah. Just wondering. Yeah. And I know a lot of it depends on what deer, on what farm and that kind of stuff. You can't really control that. I think it's easy to watch TV and think, how it's easy when things are set up, but you guys have a whole different list of challenges as far as being able to film stuff, and you got to, fit in certain time frames and schedules. It's just interesting how there's a whole different set of challenges when you're filming for a TV show. It's not just for fun. You got deadlines to meet and, got to put a certain number of shows together.
Yeah, you do. And you have to, it can be a little pressure, but when I started this, even with Drury, and then especially when we did it on our own, I said, look, we're not doing this to make a living. We're doing this to have fun. Obviously, we want to get all the kills on camera, but our cameramen are there with us. We could quit doing the Lindsey Way tomorrow, and I would still hunt just as hard as I do now because I love it, and I don't want anything to ever take that passion and that fire away. So we try to walk a fine line there. Me and my dad are adamant we don't shoot TV deer. I mean, if it's getting down the last day of the hunt, we're not going to shoot a 3 or 4 year old buck to make a show. It's just not happening. That's not what we do. We're very headstrong on that. We want to stay true to what we believe in, and mature animals. And if we don't make a show, we don't make a show. Oh well. And that's kind of our thing. We take a lot of pride in not being TV hunters, but yet making TV shows. So it's kind of a little oxymoron there, but that's just kind of the way we are.
Well, it comes across good. So I guess you've been really generous with your time. I just want to ask you a few questions about your Georgia farm before we let you go. What's your take on hunting bedding areas, and how do you guys do that on your farm? Are you guys staying out of them? Are you hunting the edges of them? How's that work?
Well, I've always felt like in our Georgia farm we have what we call a sanctuary. And you read about that, a lot of that type things in the QDMA, and they're big on having sanctuaries. That's not, and that is one of the differences I didn't point out earlier, but that's not that big a deal in the Midwest, because it seems like they have a lot of different pockets. But in the South, on our farm, we have, it's probably 100 acres, maybe even a little bigger, that we really don't go in unless we're tracking a deer or turkey hunting. We just kind of leave that. It's right in the center of our farm. We have some food plots, 2 or 3, kind of not surrounding it, but on the outlying edges of it. And we don't even hunt those hard. But we got that core area that I want those deer to stay in, live in, raise their babies, shed, yada, 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 right there in the center of our farm. And we can hunt around it, but that's kind of always been an unwritten rule. We just don't really go in there.
Are you hunting mornings and evenings as well, for the most part, when you have time to hunt in Georgia?
Yeah, we do. We hunt a lot of mornings. And mornings for us are even probably a little better, like September with the season opening so early. We hunt a lot of our deer coming off of our big field. On our Georgia farm, we got this 100-acre field that has, corn and peanuts and soybean in it. So those deer kind of linger up there. And then we'll slip around the backside and intercept them, 300 or 400 yards off the field edge in some of these funnels that we have. And mornings can be a lot better then. But, we're mostly, especially this time of year, we're I don't want to say burnt out, but we're a little hunted out. So we kind of majority is evening times until we get to the rut over in Mississippi.
Jeff, I obviously saw your presentation at QDMA convention this past summer. First of all, thanks a bunch for coming down and doing that and supporting QDMA. But I remember you talking about one specific farm or one specific stand setup that's been real successful for y'all. Maybe y'all killed multiple bucks out of that same spot. But do you have any stands like that? Like it's just the perfect tree in the perfect spot, and y'all had a lot of success out of it. And like, what does that setup look like?
Well, going back to what I was talking about with our core, kind of on the edge of that core, about 10 years ago, we put in this about a 25-acre pond down there, and it took up a lot of the bedding area. But it's been a great addition to the farm. It's got some giant bass in it. We have a lot of fun in the spring and summer on it. But what it did, and we didn't even realize this until like 2 years after it was put in, but it funneled these deer from the bedding area swamp, the backside of this dam, to connect it to our 100-acre field. And so they can't walk through the lake. They got to walk around it. And there's this big kind of drain that goes up. That's about 100, 150 yards wide from the edge of the lake dam up to kind of this pine hill. And those deer stay in that bottom and they walk it. And it's a lot more deadly in the morning times for whatever reason. This time of year, it can be a little better in the evenings. But it's just a super funnel. It's in my opinion, one of the best funnels that I've ever hunted. It's got to be one of the best funnels in the South, but it was kind of made by the land, not on purpose. It just kind of stumbled on it. And we call it the main event. And I got one tree that I killed a couple of deer out of it. It was a brushy oak, and I could hide in it very well. And I was turkey hunting in there about 3 or 4 years ago, and I came up over the hill, and we had a tornado come through, and that tree was laying on the ground, and felt like crying. We've kind of moved around into some other trees, but in that main event there, that funnel, which is, it's long, it's wide, it scatters, spreads out a good ways, but we got 4 or 5 stands in it now, but none of them, one of them can be good in the morning, one of them can be good in the evening, depending on the wind. But the one that was the main event, that main, water oak tree, or not water oak, but a pin oak tree, it was the best. And all I can hope is there's been some sprigs come up off of it that maybe Cash can hunt that when he's older. And we put a redneck box blind right there, kind of right where it was, just because it kind of made a tree. But it's a little different than it's more for rifle hunting than anything. You can't really get in there and move around like you want to, like you could on a lock-on.
Yeah, you mentioned Cash, your son. He's a pretty big part of the TV show. I know you love to bring him hunting. Has that been, one of your favorite things now that you've been a dad?
It is, man. That's a lot of fun, and I'm struggling with that right now because I got him a 243. I got the scope put on it, and he's Bobby Cole sent me some bullets that the low recoil. They do a lot of damage. A nozzle round, and he's ready to go. But he's ready to do anything Dad does. But I mean, he's 4. He's 4, so I want him to kill a deer. But if she went out and shot one now, it would almost be like playing with his dinosaurs. It just, there's dead deer. So I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be, and everybody says, you'll know when it's time. You'll know when it's ready, and I don't feel like that time is now. But then again, ask me tomorrow, and I'll be like, oh man, I want it to happen. So I don't know. I'm struggling with that, man. And I've talked to a few people about it, but I don't know what the determining date is now. Turkeys, next year we may blast some turkeys, but kind of killing your first deer or killing your first turkey, to me, that's 2 different rituals. And I kind of, because I'm a deer guy, used to not be that way. I used to be more of a turkey guy, but now that I'm more of a deer guy, I want that first. My dad's first deer was a spike. My first deer was a spike, and I'm not saying I want his first deer to be a spike, but I want it to. And I don't want it to be a big buck. I'm not going to lie about that. I want it to, because he's not going to care if it's a 80-inch deer or a 180-inch deer. He just wants something with horns he can hold. So that's a big challenge for me. And
that's a good dilemma. We could do a whole nother show on that too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need some help on that, but I'm just gonna try to be patient. But I mean, even I can take him out right now in Georgia down here. It's not too cold, and he'd be ready to go. But we're still not there, mentally. So I just got to be patient. Me or him, for that matter.
I saw this morning on social media that Cuz Strickland's nephew, not nephew, grandson.
Yeah, Cranky.
Yeah, Cranky killed his first deer last night. So
that's pretty cool.
The Cranky Chronicles have come to an end.
Right. Yeah.
Now I think they're just beginning. Right. Still got a good turkey too. So.
Yeah. That's what I told him. I said, man, I feel sorry for him watching him out there turkey hunting. I'm like, come on, Cuz, you're supposed to be the gobble master.
I know, right?
Well, I think maybe Cash, I don't know if anybody else has said this to you, but maybe when he gets to the point where he wants to shoot one more than watch you shoot him, I know with my kids right now, they're just as excited to go with me, and they don't care if they're the one pulling the trigger or not. But I know there's going to come to a time when it's going to be, hey, how about I get to do it? So
no, he's that way now.
I
took him that way bow hunting, man, and he's, I said, Dad, shoot that deer. I said, buddy, I can't. That's 80 yards, and he's like, okay, we'll pull the bow back farther. I said, well, I didn't really think about that. And then I said, okay. I said, then the next deer comes out, shoot it. I said, no, son, that's a spike. And he said, well, I'll shoot it. I said, well, one day I'm going to let you shoot it when you're ready. He says, well, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Okay. Let's do it.
I said, okay. I said, okay, well, you can. I look down, he's grabbing my bow, a 70-pound bow, a 4-year-old. So he's ready.
That's awesome.
But he's not. Yeah. He's not ready.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's a dilemma because you want to get him into it as soon as you can, but you don't want him to miss out on the experience, man. I don't know. So, yeah.
We got his gun. I got his new Vortex scope on there. Now we're going to take it and we're going to, just as like the simple concept today, I'm explaining to him what crosshairs are, and I mean, it's something so simple. You just expect when he puts the gun up there, he knows what the crosshairs are for. And I'm like, no, this is where you put it. So, we're going to shoot on the range a little bit next couple of days. We got a pretty good range on our Georgia farm. So we'll do that and see how it goes. But I mean, he's never even shot this gun. So like most young boys, the fear of the kick is the biggest thing that makes them wait a couple of years. So we got to get past that first too.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my best job at a crappy transition here. So how about all the down Southers give Jeff their thoughts. So Jeff, give us your social media handle so everybody can reach out to you and give you their 2 cents. And I'm sure you obviously got Bobby Cole sending you stuff. You got advice from the best, but it's time to hear from the rest of us. So what's the best way to get a hold of you social media wise?
Hey man, Instagram or the Lindsey Way. My handle's Jeff Lindsey 55. But like I said, we get 100 messages a day, but I do my best to respond to every single one of them. So hit us up on there. Hit us up on Facebook. I'm a little slower on there. Facebook.com/The Lindsey Way. You can email us through our website, The Lindsey Way. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of us. Just Twitter, whatever, and we'll do our best to interact.
Man, I see you everywhere. So yeah, just don't get your feelings hurt if he doesn't get back to you right away.
We do our best.
And when's the best time to watch a show? We know you got a good slot on Sportsman. When's that?
8 p.m. Sunday night, Eastern time. We air 6 times a week, but that is our prime spot. That's when it happens. We also come on Monday morning. You can set your DVRs then if you want to watch it before it hits on Sunday night. It's what a lot of people do, but that's kind of our thing. All our show times are listed on Facebook and our website. So check us out. Thanks, you guys, for having us, man.
Yeah. So for those of us that don't have cable, is there somewhere else? Are you guys on? What is it? Oh man.
Yeah, Mojo TV. Yep, Mo TV. We're on there.
Mo TV. Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2 are on there now. We have our DVDs. We actually just launched put our season 3 on there tonight on our website. So we're going to make that available for digital download as well.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Yeah, our YouTube channel. We got a few things on there. Probably not as much as we should, but we do a little on there.
Man, it's hard to do everything everywhere.
It is, man. I do most of this stuff myself and get a little bit of help from our camera guys and stuff like that. But it's you can only do so much. I need to clone myself.
Yeah, be a husband and a dad. Yeah,
I know it is. It's fun, man. Life is busy, but that's what makes it fun.
I appreciate you taking time to talk with us tonight, and we look forward to seeing how the rest of your season goes.
Yeah, guys, same here. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it. Good luck to y'all.
It was a really fun conversation.
And maybe we'll see each other next year at the QDMA.
Yeah, sounds good. I think it's in Georgia next year, so
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's right.
It is.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Thanks a lot for helping out tonight, too, Kyle. I appreciate it. We're out down south.
Thank you.
We're out down south.